are now, like at dealerships and stuff like that.
That's what kind of.
I don't remember seeing very many 0% ones like you used to see.
I know, that's
The advertisements,
The last-
they're all advertising
more
a low
rebates.
interest rate or rebate,
Rebates
yeah.
now. I'd look it up on my phone, but then I'll get all kinds of hangouts on
you don't wanna know.
me alone.
The last time I bought my truck, it was one, I think it was 1%, or something.
My snowmobile was 0 for 4 years.
Wow, that's cool, isn't it?
Just keep paying on it.
Yeah.
And it hasn't gone down in value because the prices have gone up so bad.
I wish I had traded trucks during COVID when they, because now
I've seen some really good deal on trucks lately.
that's what I'm working on right now, and I should have done it then.
I should have sold then, buy now.
Alright, then I don't need to buy one, or I do need one?
Yeah, I was looking for a truck to replace my plow truck. And now I'm getting all kinds of hints.
I went on Car Gurus. Oh my gosh, now I'm at least 10 a day. But that's sure there's a cool way to shop, though. You can sure get a lot of information,
I was just talking to Richard Larson, and they stopped at a few shops on their way back from Lincoln, Nebraska or whatever. And his wife didn't even buy anything, but she just walked in and looked at some of the stuff.
I'm here all day, we have that.
And now all of a sudden they're getting all kinds of ads for all these
Yeah, I won't be.
shops on their phones. And I says, well, this is just your GPS. They've got it.
Every time I drive by Quick Store, I get a pop-up ad.
Okay, thank you.
Are you really?
On the app.
All right. Say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll make a motion to move to approve the minutes and agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion Derby and a second from Smith to approve minutes and agenda. All in favor say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
We have lots of reading material,
We're ready for you.
sorts of stuff from
Yep,
Scott and
just there.
That's our opioid.
Oh,
Apparently, when we signed on to the first one, I was the chair at the time, and I have to do all the online signatures. So now this gets us into the Walmart and the Walgreens.
all right. Scott Mingers, engineer, will discuss secondary road matters.
Because roads matter.
Yeah, I don't have too much. We've been chasing a few road complaints, but not much new in the last week. freezing temperatures obviously help, and we've made contact with several of the trucking companies or site owners that were problems before. We plowed snow here through the weekend and everything. But our stockpiles are all full, so that's a good thing for this time of year. We'll be plowing snow as we need to, but otherwise we'll try to keep operations to a minimum here until we start spot loading, which could be, I guess, we'll see.
Yeah, it kind of all depends on what the rest of this week brings, if we do get more snow or not, and rain and
Type of snow.
Once
Yeah.
it looks like it's not gonna snow in the, 10 to 15 day forecast, maybe we'll.
Looks like every Thursday.
Every Thursday.
This Thursday, next Thursday.
Right. Next week actually looks like we get some 50s and stuff like that, so we'll start healing up, get some sun on them, get some wind on them.
Yeah.
It'll definitely help.
Soften up.
Yeah.
Soften up with wind and sun rather than softening up with overcast and rain. That would just help.
Drizzle was the worst.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta say, last weekend went really good, I thought, clearing the roads, and, you can tell the difference when you, say, drive to Mason City on, Joyce Blacktop, and you can tell right when you get to Winnebago County, because I encountered Jeff Thompson on that blacktop, and then I got towards Lake Niles, there's another one out on there, and that was Sunday afternoon. And Worth County had not been out at all. It was bad. There was cars in the ditch, and I know one gal that lives south of Joyce that drives to Lake Niles all the time, and as soon as she hit the county line, she went in the ditch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you hate to see that.
Yeah, well,
It's supposed to be all about safety. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
whole
well, it's like,
point.
we work hard to do a good job on our roads, but the bigger the contrast at the county line, the worse that is. So you kind of want to be in step with the other counties too.
or the state line.
Yeah, state
I
line.
saw that Sunday morning though too. I left for Clear Lake early and Worth's was in tough shape. There was 3 cars in the ditch just from the county line to the interstate.
I talked to a lot of people from Minnesota. They encounter the same things. It's, especially on that S curve up by Rake there. You go around that curve and it's just like you went from a tropical state to the tundra. But in the defense of those people, they save a lot of money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any secret about what we're doing other than spending time on it.
Yeah, it's just that,
Just
you
having
need the
trucks
same-
out there, guys out there.
My fear is that with the state legislature doing their stronghold on the counties,
Yeah.
we may have to cut back at some point.
Yeah, that's something like, I don't know, it's been talked about, is taking days like that and just pulling plows off the road, making a pass, get the snow off and give up for the day. I mean, I hate to think that's an option, but
Well, they say we don't have to make choice, or we don't have to cut anything, but it's gonna be a lot of choices we have to make.
yeah. I mean, it costs a lot of money to have 7 guys driving around all day in trucks burning diesel and
Yeah.
putting salt down. That costs a lot of money. And if it's not, if you park the trucks, everything, I mean, that's just money you save, but, at the cost of the conditions.
When I was driving the school bus, and it was just completely obvious, because I went into Minnesota and Cassuth, yeah. And like I tell the people from Cassuth, I says, well, you guys save a lot of money. You just gotta put up with it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you got those however many cars you saw in the ditch, so.
Yeah,
so
it's a safety issue.
so
I
maybe-
think we're here primarily to ensure safety for people,
Yeah, I mean, what saves, our budget, costs somebody else something.
That's right.
That's the balancing act that's really hard.
Well, I had one Cassuth County resident tell me that they really didn't need to have the roads cleared that much. It's the ones that usually end up going in the ditch and stuff. He says it's kind of like natural selection.
Oh,
Okay. If you're a good enough driver, I guess it won't happen, yeah.
You know,
Well, anything else for secondary roads?
That's all I have.
All right, then we'll move on to number 3. Consider for approval resolution to accept bid from Stay Built in the amount of $1,002,698.75 for project number LFM 23 Micro 7X95 2023 micro surfacing.
Yep, so this project is for microsurfacing about 32.5 miles county roads. We got 5 bids, 4 of which were really competitive, and 3 of which were all within 1%. So we're really happy with the bids. We got a good price, and I recommend we move forward with the project.
I guess that says something for having a larger project, you get more bids.
Certainly think so. Yeah, I mean, we've grouped all of those projects that we want to do in the next couple of years and organized it so they're all, in this year.
And didn't you say previously, this is to extend the life of the blacktop?
Right. So this project will come out to about 30,000 a mile. And if you remember when we did our cold in place recycling and asphalt overlay project, it was about 330,000 a mile. So we're not talking about the same things here. That 330,000 hopefully buys us 20 years, and this 30,000 hopefully buys us 5 years. So the math comes out really well if it does that. This is a thin layer of asphalt that gets put on with kind of a big squeegee pulled behind the truck, and so ends up being like 3/8 of an inch thick or so. It should hopefully improve the ride a little bit. It won't make it perfect, but for the most part, we're putting a sunscreen on the road. We're kind of giving it a little bit of resistance to the weather, and just hopefully pushing that date down the road when it needs to be major repaired.
Somewhat fill some of the deeper cracks or whatever. There'll still be I've never seen where it comes out perfect.
No, I haven't worked with Stay Built before, so we'll work with them to try and see if we can accomplish that. Some of the roads like R34 south of Thompson is on the list, and it has, those regular thumps at where the cracks are. So our intention is to try and fill those in with the first course, and then put a nice looking finish on it with the second course and seal it all up. So.
I suppose they can't squeegee like this or something, can they?
Well, what we've been told is they can swap out the rubber squeegee for a rigid steel strike plate, and hopefully the box has long enough or has like a ski type device on it where it doesn't, fall in the dips and just perfectly match the road. That's the intention. That's how I've written in the plans, but I don't make these things, and so we gotta see what they can do to try and accomplish what we've described.
It's pretty much, it's all over the county, right?
Yep. So the projects are from Scarville, north 2 miles, and south 4 miles, and east 2 miles. And then the second location is R74 south from Lake Mills, and then the 2 stubs of A34 and A38, which are the Rice Lake Blacktop and the Joyce Blacktop. The third location is from Pilot Knob north and west back to Forest City. And then the fourth location is R34 south of Thompson all the way to the county line.
Well, sounds
And
like
that's
it's
only 32.
everybody else's district.
Oh, did they skip right around you, did they?
Right around me. But mine were already good, probably.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's because you've already taken care of yourself before. So.
Duplicate resolutions, I guess one for Carlo, one for me. If you take all 3 of your signatures.
What's the percent of?
We have
cost
one
share?
over 5, it's already been done.
Little bit different.
Oh, yeah, when they were doing that in Worth, you guys,
They
The
did
state did it.
69.
69, that's what it was, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But that road didn't have any dips in it, so it gives us some idea, but not the same as some of the others we're doing.
Yeah, I have driven on that.
So what was the last thing that was done out on 35 that's so tough?
Microsurfacing.
Yeah,
With
we had
heavy
this,
traffic and
we had this
heavy lane.
conversation, yeah.
I know. I had
Yeah,
to bring
no,
it up, I
it's-
just had to bring it up again, because I was on it yesterday.
Yeah, it's really,
And actually looking at that, it's not, it's like the actual concrete or the surface below that's falling apart.
Yeah,
And
it's,
making the micro pop.
it's not, it's not that.
it
it's
has nothing
this.
to adhere to, it looks like it's crumbled underneath or whatever.
Yeah, in spots it looks like just limestone potholes.
So is there something we can do to those, any of those major cracks or space spots before it gets microsurfaced?
Well, part of it is choosing the roads that aren't past their,
And I think that,
right, past their life. That's the main thing we're cautioned against when I talked to the DOT about that project. And the other part is talking to the contractors about making sure the pavement's clean, and when the trucks and everything are going back and forth, spreading the
Bring
material, it's
debris.
not things dropped in front of it that are already crusted over that kind of don't adhere to the pavement.
So the roads that are past their workable life, that wouldn't be worth being this project, those are the ones that are next on the schedule for actually cold in place and milling.
Yeah, I mean, the next roads that are scheduled for paving, big projects are R20 north of Buffalo and A42 west of Fort City, and those roads are actually in pretty good shape. And I think you could have microsurfaced those roads as too. But because they were kind of in the plan to do major work on, chose to do other roads. Just kind of did some juggling to try to match projects to roads in order to, make that graph work. So we got some of each age, so that they don't all get old at the same time. No, I think there's plenty of roads that we could have microsurfaced. We drove around the whole county with a couple contractors, and they said, there's not a lot of limitations to that product. We'll see what kind of ride it can.
So when do you anticipate the next monies that would be available for roads? 5 years,
2027,
4 years.
4 years.
So conceivably, if we can microsurface some more, have they done microsurface over microsurface?
Well, I'm sure they have. There are different treatments that are used elsewhere, like it's not common in Iowa, but Cape Seal was done in, I want to say Butler County, but can't remember exactly. But anyway, they do it's like a sandwich of chip seal microsurfacing in alternating layers, and that's kind of more of a,
In different timelines or?
no, kind of all together the same project. Like the Cape Seal is traditionally chip seal followed by microsurfacing immediately, and
Does
that's,
the chip seal fill some of the cracks then or not?
they kind of have they behave differently in a way. I mean, the chip seal doesn't scrub it into the cracks at all, but it is a much more flexible product than microsurfacing. But microsurfacing is a much kind of more rigid surface that is less likely to be scraped off by plows, I guess, and worn down by traffic. So they're trying to get the benefit of both by layering them on top of each other. I don't know, I would think in a couple of years, we could take a look at all these and see, if they're doing really well, if we want to try another maintenance course on top of them and see. I have R34 south of Thompson, I have in that 5-year plan to chip seal or microsurface again. we'll learn a lot between now and then.
Is it the one south of Thompson?
South of Thompson,
I think it's a lot of truck traffic.
Sure. Yeah.
Where is this company out of, Stateville?
They're out of Harlan Island. Not the closest company, but pretty local. I haven't worked with them before, but I've talked to them over the years a couple times about their services. Send us mailings and things.
I need a motion for you to sign that you've already signed.
I was pretty sure we were gonna have a motion to pass it, so I just,
Not any of it is in your district? Not a bit?
we can have it signed and then just destroy it if we can vote it down.
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution to accept the bid from Stay-Built.
I'll second it then.
Well, you're
Smith.
really abstaining.
Second from Jensvold to approve the resolution to accept the bid from Stay-Built in the amount of $1,002,698.75. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thought maybe we'd get a nay out of you there.
Oh, I'm not against this, just not my,
Oh, that's
He
right,
just-
yeah.
He just doesn't want it on
It-
his,
It wasn't in his, none of the paving's in his
He's got all the concrete roads.
district.
So,
Yeah, see, like I said, he's already taken care of himself when he was chairman.
those have quite a lifespan, hopefully.
All right,
what year was the, like concrete on 44 done?
I wanna say 2010,
Yeah, something
give or
about
take
that.
a year.
About the time I came in.
Yeah.
Seemed to be holding up okay.
Yeah, it seemed to be. I mean, if they're
they can
solid
fall-
after
they can
10 years,
fall
I,
apart really fast though, it seems like, doesn't it? I mean, like once it starts going.
the problem is once they have problems, they're so hard to fix.
Mm.
But I haven't seen anything out there that is concerning, so that's it.
some of the longest lasting pavement that I noticed when I was driving truck especially is one like 175 over west. There's a section of it there that they did in concrete where they cut the lines and they cut them at an angle and all that. I mean, that road had stayed good for years and years and years. I haven't been there in a while now, but it'd be interesting to see another dang near decade later what it's like, but it stayed good for, you know, from the 90s into the 2012 would have probably been the last time I went across that road. But,
Yeah.
I suppose conditions would make a big difference, right? I mean, as far as when they do the resurfacing and stuff. I mean, or do they not do it unless the conditions are perfect? I'm just thinking of concrete that we've had poured before and the conditions weren't perfect and, you know, they didn't hold up nearly as well
When
as.
I look at Highway
Most of
9,
those-
how rough that is.
Yeah,
But most of the
Crazy.
concrete
3
on,
miles.
that's done these days is overlays.
Seems like it's better when
You know,
they
they're
cut
not
the
trying to
lines
wait
in
for
the
the
road and
subgrade to dry out or anything like
Okay.
that.
The truck's pounded on that
Yeah.
joint where it can flex.
Talking about new construction, it'd be much more of an impact than concrete overlay would be.
but I mean, is that something that you put in the contract, those kinds of things, or is it all sorts
For
of?
microsurfacing?
Yeah.
I mean, there is this, you know, the plans have a specification reference to the Iowa DOT's
Oh.
specifications, and they would have all that, limitations, they would have,
Like
requirements for
clean, that they're
materials.
Clean, that, like
Yeah.
you said, the clean thing and.
I mean, the bid here, I don't have that with me, but has like, I wanna say $3,500 per mile for cleaning and preparation of the road, so.
You have that.
Even more so, you know, you'd wanna hold them to it, make sure they do a good job with it.
Okay, anything else for secondary roads? We'll move on to auditor's office, we'll discuss drainage matters.
Okay.
You can call me back up at the end.
We're ready for you.
You can open those cookies if anybody needs a cookie this morning.
I'm not ready yet.
Not yet? Okay.
I had one on the way in,
A cookie?
my black bread.
I just had too many workouts in my Build a Better Belly program over the weekend. We got my little granddaughter granddaughter baptized and all that, so then we had all kinds of stuff around here. It's just, that was found weird.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't have anything today.
Yay.
And I can't think of anything either, so.
Good.
We're not gonna start on that cleaning out the Winnebago River project yet.
Probably should, because it's gonna be coming all down here, but
Did you all get a chance to look at those drone photos and videos? Did they come through this time? Anybody?
I didn't even get a new email.
I don't
Nope.
remember getting one.
No.
All right, well, we'll try again.
Okay.
It's just fun to watch.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah.
It's amazing what you can see. I thought for sure like the beaver dams would be hard to see, but they aren't because the water is running and it drops off. It's just,
It's even like when you're, get a above ground picture of a field, you can even tell where the tile are at. lots of
Yeah, you
times
can
and
see the
stuff. I
lines
mean, you
coming.
can't see it when you're on the ground, but when you get that up,
it's amazing the perspective that you can get.
Mhm.
yeah.
And all the tree, you can see any tree and brush encroachment, you know, from our, it's a good way to check that.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll
That'd be
do
good.
that again.
I think it'd even be more fun if we just got ourselves assessed on it,
Okay, thank you.
flew around and looked at it.
That'd be more fun.
See, no, hold it. Are the Cessnas the ones with the wings? Oh, they're above, yeah.
Might as well get a helicopter then, as long as you're doing that.
And then we can land and take a
I
look
like
at
the
it.
light
Mm.
props on helicopters, don't fly as well.
That is
When
true.
they stop.
We're what, all over.
I was gonna say, are
the
we
place
done,
today.
or?
I just, see if you got the Cessna, then I'd just get my license renewed.
All right, well, and I took ground school. I just never got my pilot's license.
Really?
I did takeoffs and landings, but I never did do my pilot's license.
I don't have anything for other than.
Okay,
All right,
sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
okay, number 5, consider for approval contract for Scott Levin.
I don't think it's ready for approval today, but
Well, what I read on the Kelsey sent, quite, that was
The
what,
markup version.
what we had, there was a lot of, I don't remember seeing in there anything about, being able to adjust one way or the other, once we figure out what the.
Well, yeah, it
tonnages
says
are.
here on, the new C, collection of recyclables, it says recyclable materials that comply with, and it doesn't continue, so we gotta get that figured out.
Yeah.
Do we need to go through that step by step?
Same would
Today,
be,
so that
yeah,
we
we should
can-
probably look at it. Like,
do you guys need copies?
I read it
Yeah.
through, but yeah, I could use a copy.
it's a lot easier in color.
Ooh, the color, I'll bet.
Oh, let me see if I can print it in color.
So,
And there was another part in there that didn't make sense. It would have made more sense if it was, still gonna be waste management or whatever, something in there. I can't remember now. I read it a few days ago.
okay, so under B, in definitions, recyclable materials. Materials considered recyclable are, as of the commencement of the date of the contract are, and in the old one, it said, through the duration of this contract, recyclable materials shall at all times be defined within the single stream specification sheet, or updates to that list be accepted by both county and contractor. So, do we define what we discussed in your cardboard, papers, recyclable plastics, recyclable glass, and recyclable
Metal.
metals?
How was that again?
Are there four
Because there's plastics
categories?
that aren't recyclable.
Yeah.
There
Or are there only?
glass that's not recyclable. You gotta define that they're recyclable plastics, recyclable glass.
Because like, this is recyclable.
Well, most everything has a thing that says recycle on it,
Oh, it's amazing what doesn't.
but, some stuff that I didn't even think was recycled is, well, maybe it just says on there, please recycle. You know,
I don't think the metals
Like
have
laundry
recyclable on them.
detergent bottles.
I think if you look at does aluminum can have recyclable on it, or is it just considered if it's aluminum or tin, they are recyclable?
Yeah, metals it's more clear, plastics, it's not.
So I don't know if we have to I mean, okay, so say somebody's got scrap iron, can they throw it in there? I mean, that's what we have to look at.
Yeah, you don't wanna start getting into those kind of tonnages, but it would be to their advantage not to wanna throw it in there. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right, but if they don't have say you got an old person that has bed rails, they wanna get rid of them,
It's metal,
it's metal.
yeah, that's probably not something you want in a recycling bin because it's not.
Is that our responsibility or is that Scott's
Well, that's what's in
responsibility?
there, I mean,
Yeah,
uh,
I'm just, does he set those
His-
parameters or do we?
His one trailer that he's gonna modify could probably handle that.
but he's not sorting it from the plastic. That's where if you had the metals in one bin,
Well, no, that has to be, but no,
no, he was putting it all in
I
one.
guess you have.
It's just
Center
a
puts it all in
two-sort is
one.
all it is,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. It would be nice if they kept the metals separate.
It'd be to his advantage, cause he could get some money for it,
Yeah, no, then he could take it straight to the,
yard.
scrap yard. Yeah, it would be nice if there was I was surprised when they started, and I know why they did it, because it just makes it easier for everybody to throw everything in one.
Mhm.
So your tonnages are gonna go up.
Then he's counting on somebody else to sort that,
Yeah,
whereas if he had a bin there that,
yeah, because, I mean, if there's no market for the glass and the plastic, someone's gonna get that metal out of there, you would think, but, maybe not either. But, it always made sense to me that there would be three different paper products, your metal, and your glass and plastic can be sorted. I agree that they should all be kept separate in a sense, but glass and plastic are easy to separate from each other because one is pretty heavy and the other one's pretty light. Metal, your tin cans.
Well, and it's the glass and plastic that's not being recycled right now. I mean,
Yeah.
notoriously not
Yeah,
being. So if that was just as one bin,
which you would think that glass would be so easily recycled that I think it would be easier than making new stuff out of sand, you know, so.
That's what Jason said, like, he doesn't understand why there's no place for glass, because glass, he said it's better to have glass than try to make it out of sand.
Yeah,
He used to work in a glass factory, and
yeah.
they used to get
Got
glass.
some first-hand experience in.
Yeah,
It'd be a lot easier to melt glass down than it would to process the sand, I would think.
yeah.
or at least grind it down to sand or something.
Yeah,
I don't know if they've got certain things in the glass that they have to remove when they redo it.
yeah, well, I'm sure there's some purities, not everybody washes it out well. But yeah, there are certainly different grades of glass, but you would think it would all melt down into the same. I mean, usually your cheaper glasses are just something that's a much thinner glass than something else. And maybe there's more to it than what seems.
Okay, do we need to have a conversation with him on this? If he's going to,
Separate, make it three bins.
yeah. I
Yes.
mean,
Otherwise,
that's a
we're gonna
whole
have to-
different setup for him.
Yeah, yeah. You would have to,
it would be to his advantage though.
I
well,
would,
the one trailer he's got, I mean, he could, because I think there's 4 compartments on it. He could designate metals, glass and plastic.
go to the call before we get too far on this.
Or can we share the contract with him and have him, because he's not seen it, and see what, if those fit into what he's
Before
considering.
we, I guess before we approve the contract, in a sense, it's gonna have to be reviewed.
I'll give you one.
Thank you.
Benefits.
Yeah, reading it online, it seemed like there was lots of stuff that needed to
Now,
be
the
talked
trailer
about.
that he's gonna reconfigure, if he hasn't already done it, he can make that into a 3 compartment, where he would have paper products in one, metal in another, glass and plastic in another.
I think how people will kind of change their recycling habits now is that they'll have 3 small bins in their garage, and
Because they're gonna carry smaller containers.
because they're
anyway.
gonna be carrying small and putting them in their trunk.
All my metal, my
You put on
cans
your,
and stuff, I put in a separate wastebasket in my garage.
Yep.
And,
I have to make a can crusher again, or compacting.
You know, if the legislature wanted to do something smart, they'd get rid of that stupid bottle bill.
cans,
They just got done upping the price that they're giving to the recyclers.
I don't know, my mother-in-law, she has to separate all them cans out, and then soda cans. And, you know how she crushes them? She puts them on the floor in the side of that shop in there, and then she drives over and back and forth with the skid loader.
I like to just
That's
stand,
your
I like to stand on it and
Watch her going to town in there with a skid loader, it's kind of funny.
should it be part of the contract definitions on the sorting? Or it's gonna be up to him how he wants to do it?
Well, I'm sure he's gonna have an opinion on how it's done.
Yeah.
If we go with separating the metal out, there could be a monetary advantage for him as far as,
But is it gonna be passed on to us then?
yeah. And will people do it? The more sorting they have, will people do it too?
yeah, I mean, they're gonna wanna
It'd be
continue.
nice to start one way and keep one way if we can.
See, the people in Buffalo Center are used to just putting it all in one, so can you break the habit without too much grumping, it's, cause it'll take another container then.
Yeah.
So,
But, so do we care? Does Scott care? Maybe he wants it just all in one container.
yeah, no, I'm guessing.
Well, when we talked,
Separate,
didn't he
yeah.
say cardboard in one, everything else in
He was
the other?
talking
Yeah,
two
no,
sorts, but we're
that's what he
thinking
does
it's
for
his
Buffalo Center.
advantage to have that third sort. Cause you can put tin and aluminum in another one and actually
Because
get
maybe
money
he can
for
do it for, maybe he can stay at a lower price to the county if
Or
we
make more
require.
profit.
Yeah,
Or-
see,
yeah.
when you dump it
At the
all
same
at once,
price.
and they gotta sort it, then all the metal value, I'm assuming them people are taking the metal value because they have to sort it all.
Most, I mean, we would, out on the farm, we would sort that metal out,
But yeah, if you say you take it to Mason City where they do sort it if they start sorting again at the, paper place, the cellulose place,
Maybe you should call him.
maybe that's where their profit to afford to do it for sorting.
Let's see,
So everything crossed out of this is what Kelsey crossed out, or?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's,
Who did that?
I did.
You did?
I tried to, take everything out of the contract that was,
Pertaining to.
Didn't apply
waste
anymore.
That was waste
Yeah.
management
Doing it
yep,
stuff, sure.
and then Kelsey went through
and marked up
and marked up what I had done.
with notes. So I guess under B, under definitions, I would have to say, you define that are paper, cardboard, recyclable plastics and glass, and tin and aluminum. That's about all we can recycle, right? I mean, you can't necessarily define bed rails in there.
Right, it's,
That's something you get rid of somewhere else. And then under C, recyclable materials that comply with the, I don't know, do we even, collection of recyclables would, instead of saying recyclable materials will be collected at one site in Thompson? That's to be defined
there's so
later.
much that's gone out of this that I wonder if we just should,
Well, I think you can pare it down just by eliminating some of this, but
yeah.
recyclable materials that comply with definition under B.
Where are you at, Terry?
Well, I'm on C right now, definition.
EC,
EC? No,
Used to be D, now C. Collection of recyclables, recyclable materials that comply with definition under B. B.
so,
At a single site in Thompson. Single drop
Have we-
site in Thompson.
fully procured that?
No, but we do have the back of our county shed. I'm sure we can come up with something.
yeah.
I don't wanna do it at the county shed, but we'll work on that. Because it's political, I gotta be careful how we proceed. Massage it properly. Does that sound right though? Recyclable materials that comply with the definitions stated in section B at a single drop site in Thompson.
Yeah, that would, pretty much cover it. You're kinda combining C, D,
And then
and
D,
referring to B.
down on D, processing recyclables to transportation or local process. So
As you were going through it, Carla, was there anything really, any questionable?
I was just trying to take out things that related to waste management.
Okay,
yeah. So we're talking about the Thompson location down in D. Can we eliminate C? And then renumber.
The,
Just put the first section, sentence of C.
You're kind of
and then
repeating in
D.
D what you're saying in C, right?
well, the new C,
The new C,
yeah,
I guess there's collection and processing. But we're already talking about. I guess you could probably,
well, and
he's not collecting it other than at a site. He's not,
And I didn't know what to put in C. That's why it's blank.
well, that's where I put recyclable materials that comply with the definition stated in B at a single drop site in Thompson. Will be be collected at a drop site in Thompson.
So then you are kind of repeating, like,
Yeah.
we should
Just
You
eliminate,
could,
combine,
you could eliminate D
I
and
think
just
you could
have,
eliminate it then and,
Well, there's definition in D that should be put in there, that there's a plan of what the contractor's gonna do.
yeah, what he's gonna do.
That's part of our recycling plan. So to me, D is more important than C, where you could just, it says acceptable recyclable materials as defined in B.
You can just take the recyclable materials that comply with, section B will be, add that into D, I guess. Because he picks up Buffalo Center the way he does, my guess is he's not gonna wanna separate the metals. I'll call him.
yeah, it can't hurt to call them, cause then.
It could be that it's more advantageous for the next sorter to have the metals in there.
Yeah, maybe it's easier for him to get rid of it that way.
does he have stuff that he sends out to Buffalo Center to tell them how he, like, instructions?
Materials disseminating.
Oh, how
How to sort.
to be sorted.
Yeah, cause it,
Because it's single sort in Buffalo, right?
Yeah, just
No,
paper
paper.
products and the rest of it.
So
So
two
there's two
sorts.
sort there.
There's two sort.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's two sort.
So if that's all he wants to do for this project, then we can use his same
And-
information that he
And I
has.
would think that if he thought it was advantageous to him to separate out the metal, he probably would have
Probably
done that
would.
already.
so does he have information sheets that he uses already?
That's,
Yeah, I have seen, I don't know whether the city themselves might send it out. I have seen that. It seems like it's also been in the paper, but, in the past.
Just so that we don't have to recreate the,
Because, like, here it talks about Waste Management had some kind of a specification sheet on what to recycle. So it would be nice if we could get something from him that would say what people can or cannot recycle.
I'm sure we can
or something.
plagiarize any other
That's what I
county
was
that's
just
doing
gonna
it.
say, we could, once we know what
Copy
he's
and
gonna
paste.
do, we could copy and paste it and send it out or put it on our website.
I think we're gonna have to invest in, sending out information sheets, cards, whatever, to people. I don't know how you differentiate our customers versus everybody. Because rural Fort City versus city.
Hello, Scott.
Scott, this is Bill Jensvold, here with the supervisors and Carla.
Yeah.
And I got a couple questions for you.
Okay.
As far as the separating out, you wouldn't wanna, we've been talking about separating the metals out from the plastic and glass.
Nope, all those go together just like in town here.
Yeah, and that's the way you wanna keep it, right?
Yeah, yep.
Alright. Cause cause there is, do they separate the metals out of the other two? Because there's always a market for the metals.
Yeah, they separate them and that makes them, I suppose, a little more money
Yeah.
when they do that.
See, that's what we were wondering, if it was separated out for you, could it make you a little more money, or even make it a little cheaper for the county, I guess?
That doesn't make me any money either way.
Yeah, not now, but if it was separated
Yeah.
out, and then you took it to the scrapyard yourself,
Yeah,
but it would take a while to build up enough, you'd have to have another place to store it, so you could haul enough in all at once.
yeah,
So that's not practical, you just should leave it the way it is.
yeah,
So it's a
Alright.
two sort.
Two sort, yeah.
two sort.
And we're going through the contract here, trying to.
How about the materials, the specifications?
Oh, do you have a sheet that, I can't remember, it seems like I've seen it before.
Yeah, I do have one, which says how to, like, how to separate it and what is and is not recyclable.
Yeah,
You haven't emailed that to me.
I'll have to get that.
yeah, could you email that to Carla?
Yeah, I think that's where I sent the email before, I believe.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
All right, yeah, just email her a copy of that,
Today.
then we don't have to reinvent one, so.
Yeah, I can get that sent out later today, yeah.
We have to get the address before we disseminate any information.
Okay.
Anything else
That-
we need from him?
Yeah, so,
Anything else?
I'm just gonna ask anybody that had anything else for you. Doesn't sound like right now, we may call you back.
Okay, no, not a
All
problem.
right, thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah, I guess his wording on his specifications would go right into the definitions of recyclable materials.
Yep.
One thing about Thompson, got the county shop, we possibly have that EMS shed, and possibly could do something at the fairgrounds.
It would be a lot more convenient for them to do it
Along the
on the
highway.
highway out there. Also easier to find for some people that get easily confused. Getting caught in rush hour in Thompson wouldn't be good either, so.
I think we've asked this before, but I'm gonna ask it again. Have we ever talked to Thompson itself about, are they interested in using this
They
as,
just signed a 4-year contract.
I knew there was something, I couldn't
And they
remember what it was.
they make a little on it.
They do make some?
They just bill the people, and then they got a little margin there. So, no,
So,
they're
no.
not interested.
Got it.
It's a service they provide for their residents, and
Yeah, it's just a
Have a
question
little
that's gonna
cushion
come
there.
up a lot. Why does Thompson still have
because
their own
they just
recycling?
contract.
Okay. So what's the next question?
Some of the
after-
concerns that came up from that EMS site was, well, we're gonna have stuff blowing all over town. And, it's gonna confuse our residents. Well, not necessarily. It's easier for them just to roll their dumpster out to the curb.
Or if they forgot to roll their dumpster out, they could have the
It's not gonna let.
unscrupulous opportunity to get rid of it anyway.
I mean, it's every other week for them. I mean,
Okay, where are we at on this?
I think we're done. What's the bottom of that page? Comment concerning previously about needed to provide complaints so quickly, just pointing this out. Provided the contractor by the end of the next business day of receiving a complaint. Should we make that within 2 business days?
Mhm.
That gives it a little
And
cushion.
will the complaints, will the phone numbers advertised on it be our phone numbers here or his? You know,
I would say, they've always come here, haven't they?
Yes.
so we would just email him the complaint
And
as
since
we
he's
get it.
not providing a
Unless, yeah,
pickup
instead of
service,
documented in writing, we can put emailed.
Yeah, if it can just be phone and or emails so that we can notify him.
it's not, I mean, I don't think it's as critical as it was when it was pickup day.
Right, exactly. But if there's, we'll have complaints because people are gonna be scrutinizing this having to drag their stuff there and then there'll be stuff around, you know, it's gonna happen.
Well, it is amazing how some people can be there and dumping their stuff in, and then they miss with a third of the, whatever it is, and how they won't bend over and pick it up.
Yeah.
I have seen.
Well, that's
Other than
that's
that,
why
if you
Clear
get it in
Lake
the trailer,
doesn't.
there's not gonna be a problem with it, but if you don't get it in the trailer, that's when there's gonna be a problem with stuff going around.
That's why Clear Lake doesn't have theirs anymore, you know, and it was a really nice facility.
Oh, they got rid of their recycling drop-off point.
It was right there in town, you know, and it was a really nice setup. You could pull in with yard waste and.
So do we need anything in here on cameras or anything? I mean, or is that something that was discussed, but he said he could provide that, but I think he was kind of hoping if there was, you know, Wi-Fi, it'd be easier for him to provide the surveillance, and it's kind of a moving target. If it's not a problem, then why have it? And I mean, it could be as simple as a trail cam.
Yeah, the company
Taking
that
pictures.
the company that I use is called Wise, WYZE, and it's $4 a month or $5. I mean, it comes right up to
Constantly, or
your
just motion activated.
motion activated, but it will identify whether it's a animal or a person or a vehicle, you know. And it's relatively,
But you need Wi-Fi for that,
yes,
so that would be the critical step.
yes, you're right.
Which I'm guessing our shop probably has Wi-Fi. And if we have the EMS shed, if that ever comes to fruition.
That'll have Wi-Fi also,
Wi-Fi.
so.
You know, one thing about if we have an agreement with the city of Thompson on EMS shed, who's gonna, they've always plowed that. Is that gonna be to their benefit, having that there, they still plow it?
Yeah, that'd be something they'd have to work around.
I was certainly hoping that the city of Thompson would, just because the advantages that it's gonna afford
And
them.
maybe it's one of those things where they would plow in front of the building for the EMS. Or maybe when Ethan swings by, he can do the area out back for the recycling, so he doesn't have to have it in his lot. It's to his advantage,
It's to his, yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
because his plow truck will do it.
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh,
As
yeah.
long as we make sure that we set it so, to specifications that they can get around it easily.
Well, I know he's boat trailer, you have to be able to get both sides. And it would probably make sense to have the other trailer set up that way also, otherwise you get it all piled on one side and it would be full, and the other
Spread out,
side would
yeah.
still be empty.
Nice thing is, at that location, if he starts piling up snow on a winter like this, and you run out of room, it's pretty easy to go from the shop to there with a loader and start really
That's true too.
pushing.
Yeah, yeah.
So who owns the property directly south of that?
That'd be Nick. Sharon Mathis is,
Oh,
I don't know if they're married or not.
yeah,
but
okay, I know.
he does the pallet recycling,
Mhm.
so that's recycling. But,
Yeah, it is. Fits, doesn't it?
I mean, where Ralph Schneebly used to live,
Mm-hmm.
on West River.
So maybe we're not to this yet, but so as far as submitting statements and invoices, is that when he'll,
It's quarterly.
quarterly, but then he'll also, at the time that
As far
he,
as tonnage.
yeah, will he give us the tonnage on
So,
each of those
Where
invoices?
is that?
I believe that was addressed in here.
Payment procedures?
He wasn't gonna read payments until everything was received. I thought it was.
So there was a section.
And only after the county receives all monthly reports from the contractor, required under the contract.
And where is that defined, the monthly reports?
Under,
Which would just be
But there,
all his
that was,
receipts from
I was thinking the old contract we had.
tonnage.
taking it in, the tonnage, yeah.
Okay, fine.
It's really just, that part is just about accountability is all, I mean, so that we really know where. If he asks for more money, or if it's not being used as much as we think.
No, it talks about he'll be able to pass on any extra transportation or processing costs incurred by the contractor as a result of any mandated changes in local, state, or federal laws. Should we also add in there, or as it turns out to be extra tonnage, if it's more than what we thought it was gonna be, should we have that in there? So if, because we don't know what it's gonna be. And it should also go the other way if it ends up being less.
And I
So
guess
there's-
then you have to define what's the target number for tonnage. I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna take a year or two to determine that, probably.
Well, yeah, but that's where we should have the flexibility to, you know, it should almost state in there that we're gonna pay him on a per load basis in a sense. Because we, you know, I mean, that's also tough, but it's not gonna be fair to him if it ends up being way more than what we
Right.
thought it was gonna be.
Right.
So somehow we have to address being able to change that.
Right,
Yeah.
and in the same vein, if nobody uses it,
And Scott's not keeping, well, we'll be able to see by the
By
tonnage
the
report,
tonnage.
we'll know what's going on, but Scott's not the kind of guy that's gonna try it. I mean, if he's not doing it, he's not gonna make us pay for it.
So if there's something in here, with 30-day notice, an agreement by both parties to alter the contract according to
Yeah, according to the
tonnage.
tonnage report or whatever.
ability to alter the contract based on tonnage, both more or less,
Yeah, according to tonnage reports.
yeah.
Of course, tonnage on plastics isn't much,
No,
but the volume is more. I wonder if we should indicate the volume,
yeah, well,
because it's more in
each time the
cubic
trailer's
yards.
full, you know.
Yeah, that's cubic yards. So I say we stay away from the tonnage
Yeah.
reports and go with the volume
Yeah.
reports.
Yeah, do they have a volume report on it as far as,
Well, he'll be able to, you mean in here?
No, just that he gets when he delivers
I mean,
it.
when he delivers it, I would assume.
Well, he knows how
many
many yards are in his,
Yeah, but then
but if he's taking a half a load,
I was just gonna say, if it's
it's
taking
still a
a
trip.
partial load over there, cause it's got enough in there where it ain't gonna make it till the next week or whatever, so you're gonna run it.
Well, that's what I was wondering, if he has this trailer that has different compartments and one compartment fills up, does he take the whole trailer?
He's gonna have to,
I suppose.
yeah. Yeah, if you've got your paper one full and the other ones are not,
But he's also working with Buffalo Center, so maybe he could combine some of that.
yeah, well, you'd have to transfer it from one trailer to the other, and that would be
That'd be a lot of labor.
relatively inconvenient. I mean, it wouldn't be impossible to it would be a lot easier to transfer it from the one trailer he has that has the gravity side empty out of each compartment. Then he can shovel it up and throw it in the other.
Well,
The other trailer is not gonna have that gravity. That's just gonna have a gate in it, and he can dump the what's on the back off and then move over to where the other spot and then open that gate and dump what's on the
It would
front
maybe
off.
save a trip
Cause
somewhere.
all it is a dump.
I
Trailer to pull
don't
in to
suppose-
pick up.
I don't suppose he'd swap out an empty trailer for a hard trailer and then take that on his route in Buffalo to top it off.
Yeah, yeah, it's
That would
something
be
he
beneficial.
could work out and benefit him.
So what, we're still talking about a 3-year contract? Is that what, or what are we, what's he want?
Oh,
I think
Because
as
if-
long as we got flexibility in there, and then there's an out clause for both parties, is there not?
Mhm.
Yeah, and so we've got an out clause in there,
originally
Yeah.
he was gonna have a lot of capital outlay.
yeah,
And he wanted like a 4-year contract then or something,
It was
Yeah.
always 3.
always 3.
I think so.
So he wanted to be able to pay off his capital outlay. Well, here he doesn't have much
Well,
capital.
that's why I was wondering, maybe it should just be a 1-year contract, because then we'll know how much it's used, and then we can,
Well,
More
we have
easily
the
make
flexibility in the contract to change it already, so it doesn't matter if it's 3 years.
yeah,
Because
as
we
long
have
as
the-
that's written in there, I
Yeah.
guess.
Because it may end up where it's beneficial for us to have more drop sites and
Yeah, we may change that, and
Yeah, and if the whole recycling thing changes in the country, nationally wise.
if a market appears for everything again, I mean, if we have to, we can go back to the way it was. But, personally, I'd like to see, figure out a way where he could afford to do that too.
That'd be ideal, someone local, someone who lives here.
okay, so then under payment procedures, it says for year 1 of the contract, do we then state with renewable for 3 years? Or renewable for another 2 years?
There's a year one.
This is under payment procedures, under 4. And right after the 24,000 for year 1 of the contract.
Oh, there it is, I missed out, blurred all that into the red, scratched out.
And then say, and renewable for 2 years.
Yes.
Then you need to change on number 2, Roman numeral 2, the term of this contract.
Well, if we're doing that, then that changes this other. Just say 3 years. Instead of for year 1 of the contract, say for yearly for 3 years of the contract. Back on 4, if we leave 2 the same. The blue part would read for 3 years, yearly for 3 years of the contract. See, yearly contract of 24,000 for the 3-year contract.
Within the 3-year contract,
Yeah,
maybe. What are we paying this?
Or if you say for year 1 through year 3 of the contract.
Yes,
I was just gonna say that.
So then on 4, payment procedures, new A, that would just be if anything was mandated that we didn't have any control over, that would raise, that he could pass those.
That would be renegotiation of the contract.
Yeah, somehow. I mean, what would it be, local, state, or federal? So it would just be something if there was a recycling thing that came down from state that we had to
Yeah,
start
if
separating
they
it.
mandate something again, that's say, a change,
To an
where we have to have 4 drop sites, maybe they'll mandate we have to have 4 drop sites.
Yeah, or
Has-
separate
Has to
it.
be within 10 miles of each resident.
Yeah, yeah. Or something like that.
Don't give them any ideas.
Do you wanna leave the or solid waste in there in case there becomes too much garbage, that he could pass the garbage cost on to us, or no?
He actually said that
Well, he said he would take care of it up to a point.
up to a point, so I think it probably has to be in there for, if it does turn into a dumping site.
Yeah.
So the lettering of this section, payment procedures, should A be up at the contractor and B down at notwithstanding? Or, I guess it could just stay this way. Yeah. I
Probably
guess you could
either
say
way.
that 'Cause some of these sections have just A.
Incurred by the contractor as a result of any mandated changes or any change, we should have it add in there, any changes in volume or mandated changes.
But is it instantly passed on, or do we negotiate that?
That's why we were saying with 30 days' notice to alter the contract based on the volume
Or other,
or other. Debris, I don't know how to say it.
well, or other changes out of our control. The mandated changes. So do we just put in that section, incurred by the contractor as a result of mandated charges or changes, generation, collection, transportation, processing, recycling materials? So somewhere in there, put in there changes in volume.
Yeah, I think based on volume, based
Vol-
on volume.
Recyclable materials, volume, or solid waste.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so one thing right now that Waste Management does is they take TVs, don't they, and charge you for it. You can take your TVs over there. Is there gonna be some kind of a process where we, in our plan, are we required to have a plan for the TVs? Or is that part of
Are we
the
required by the
garbage,
state?
garbage area?
See, like in Buffalo Center, what they do is they have one day every year in the spring where you can get rid of stuff like that, but that's just purely garbage. It's nothing to do with recycling. They,
I don't
got
think
so
that
much
Waste
for a TV,
Management,
so much for a couch, so much for a chair, and then they come down the garbage truck and pick it all up.
see, I don't think Waste Management has that. I might be wrong, but I've been taking my stuff to Mason City. There's a place over there.
That takes what?
TVs, computers, brown, is it called
Because they
brown?
do harvest some of the gold in there, and
I think it's called brown trash or something. What is it called? Anyway.
but you still pay to get rid of it.
Mhm.
So that's almost a business then.
Yeah.
So we
Means
maybe
like-
don't have to have that in our recycling plan. I guess that can be addressed later. if
They're
they say we didn't
technically
do it
not
right.
recyclable materials under the description that he would have, I don't think. It's, I mean, yeah, there's a recyclable value to them.
I'm not thinking about our contract with them, I'm just thinking, as a county, do we have to have a plan for those things?
I think it's already taken care of in Buffalo Center anyway by the
So,
city and the
so
garbage.
it's not in the original contract with Waste Management, so that shouldn't probably change. I guess don't stir the pot.
No. I mean, there's a place within 40 miles to take it, so, or 50 miles, so.
I think you can take it right out to the landfill and pay to get rid of it.
I don't know.
So,
The severability is fine, right? The failure to perform is fine.
yeah. So is the date gonna be right, May 1st? Is it gonna overlap with that much with Waste Management?
I think it'll be 30 days, but
It'll be,
I don't think that'll hurt anything.
well, it's just the payment due to him, it's gonna be sooner.
Which one you looking at?
On C, 6C, highlighted red. Should that be, and, that's under insurance, but really the whole contract, should it be later, since we can't get out of the other one until, June 1st or whatever?
Well, I'm not sure that they're gonna uphold the May 1st
Oh,
or
yeah.
May 31st thing anyway. When I talked to Jason, he was,
Gonna look into it.
well, he,
We are already on an extended contract or whatever.
I can forward you the email.
I think I saw it. Okay, well, I'll just leave that. The
Which Jason you
assignment,
talking about?
That Waste Management.
And so when they have like right to terminates and stuff like that, does there need to be a time frame on there, just right to terminate a contract? On 7D.
It's 90 days. 90 days after the date of notice.
Oh, there we go, it's on there, sorry.
The question Kelsey had was, can you terminate just to terminate?
If we decide to go a different route, you mean, just
Yeah,
terminate?
for political reasons,
something like that.
we want to get reelected. These people want curbside pickup.
Mm-hmm.
So
It
should
might
I,
have to be curbside trash pickup.
should I ask her how to word that?
A lot of this is gonna be on Kelsey's plate once she sees the notes.
Either I just stick in there, either party to terminate for whatever reason they want to, I
Do you want me
guess.
to go back to January, give them that 96 for every payroll until now? Or how do you want me to do it?
When is he supposed to start,
The
January?
3rd, January 3rd?
Yep.
Okay.
maybe that just wants to be 30.
That's what it is. I thought that was what it was with waste management.
No,
It's
it's
90
90,
days.
that's why it's gonna be May.
Um,
Maybe. I think they're still picking up this month, aren't they? Seems like I saw one going to the northwest part of the county last Friday.
So, if the last contract that was already expired, is either one of us held to the
Well, that's what he's saying.
ramifications, so that's sort of,
But they raised our rate like we're still in the contract. They've been picking up like we're still in the contract.
So
We've
we
been
did
paying
get a
them like
bill.
they're still in the contract.
We did get a quarterly bill then,
Yep.
okay,
So it
at
would be,
3%.
yep.
Okay, so
So-
that,
At what
that,
percent, the
that
3?
tells me there, we've got them locked in for another 90 days.
Well, that's what Kelsey said, that it would be awful hard for them to fight like they were not in the contract if they've been acting like they're in the contract.
yeah.
So,
Well, we're doing them a favor, helping them alleviate their labor problem.
so 30 days doesn't give us much time to find a replacement if they cancel.
Mhm. I think the 90 days is not a bad thing.
It's okay.
Yeah, it gives both parties time to adjust. And should we have in there that either party can terminate for any reason, doesn't necessarily need to be non-performance by either one. If he decides he wants out of it, he can't do it anymore, or if we think that,
Stamp that.
on our side of it would almost be non-performance. I can't think of any other reason why we want to get out, other than we want to go
If she
back.
wants to get reelected.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 0054. Is it one? But it was a salary number, so the last four were 00 or 1000.
So we're good. So do we have to have
No,
his
it
insurance
was
information
0001.
then too, just like
Or
any
the
other
number was 54.
Okay,
contractors?
so
or
maybe
vendors?
that is right, okay. What she gave me. Cause we're the last one for,
And then the last one.
no, not the last one, after
Under
5-4.
11,
So it
It
was
was
like,
something, yeah,
not
0001
highlighted.
dash 54.
Well, waste management
Gosh, it was
district is a terminology, I suppose,
I'm
by
not sure, and
the
then
DNR.
10,000, okay.
something.
Thank you.
I think that's about it, I can see.
Well, I'll have Kelsey look at it and I'll put it back on the agenda.
Good.
Did we want to change it for the 90 days for any reason?
Yeah, I put on there, ask Kelsey how to word that.
All right.
So does that insurance, are we gonna have to have insurance on that site? Or will the town of Townsend have whatever site it ends up being?
I imagine we'd have to have renter's insurance or something, wouldn't we? If we leased the AMS building.
Actually, he'll have to have the insurance on it.
Well, for his stuff, but not on the property.
How about liability then for the property though?
I think
Like if
that
somebody
we'd have
slips
to
and
have a
falls out
renter's
'cause it's icy?
insurance probably on part of our ICAP or whatever, I suppose.
Okay.
If we get this done. We can get there yet.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely have to look at covering ourselves.
I think
People
it might
going
be
in.
just part of an additional insured. I think it's gonna be a major cost.
No, it shouldn't be. I mean, it should just kind of be an umbrella thing,
Wow.
adding another site.
Yeah, if we rent the building, you know, if we cause a fire, then it's our liability for replacement.
Okay, are we on open forum, are we?
You have to have that under open forum or Susan
Pardon me? What?
says open forum.
Yes. But
That's
I don't know
received.
who that's from. Oh.
Oh, it's a Recordo.
So just received on all of these?
Yep.
Couldn't read the name. Trying to figure it out.
Cookie Crumbs.
So, did you get any information from zoning? And whether, was a letter sent out to,
No, we've been working on it. Matt and Kelsey and I have been discussing it. So hopefully this week.
okay,
We had to listen to the video to find out how the letter should be worded.
oh, okay. There's some specifications there.
Well, they were trying to decide if it should be retroactive back to this January or,
I think we indicated January 16th or whatever.
but they said that he didn't agree to that. So,
I think it's up to him to agree to that. He just asked for a waiver for another month.
Yeah,
We were being magnanimous.
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
so do one of you want to call Kelsey and tell her that you want the letter, or call Matt, or,
Is she in court right now?
yes.
She said she had court today, yeah.
Wonder if she said she wasn't sure what time she'd be done though. It'd be nice if she would just,
Who was this one? I can't read the name either. Or is it something else?
Melissa Ricardo. Yeah, we did discuss it in the meeting that it should, be retroactive back to when you applied for the waiver.
Okay. Well, they,
between Matt and Kelsey, they were concerned about it?
so if you want to call them and tell them that you think it should be back to January 16th,
That was our intent.
that,
I'm pretty sure on the recording it should indicate that. Thought we discussed it that way,
it didn't really say that.
but, oh,
It said
I think
that,
seems like there was discussion that a motion.
yeah, but the motion didn't say that you would charge him back to the,
Oh.
the,
Didn't specify it enough?
no. So unless, I didn't go back and listen to the meeting from January, so maybe I should do that.
Because we possibly didn't address it at the meeting in January.
As,
The first, where he was at, I didn't
Yeah.
listen to that one. I listened to the one where you made the motion.
Yeah.
And that did not say anything about going back to the January 16th.
Yeah, but if you just gave him a reprieve, I mean, well, it makes
It
sense.
only sounded like you intended to charge him from February 16th. That's what it sounded like to me. If that was your intent, that's not what you said.
So I probably made the motion, so what did I do?
I always had it in my head that it would be, we're just giving him a reprieve and then it would go back.
I thought I even brought it up to define it that way.
Not in that, not in the January 10th meeting.
Oh, no. But at the last meeting,
Yes, but when you made the motion, that's not what you said.
Oh. I just texted Matt, and talked to Kelsey after the meeting today.
So I don't, you'll have to talk to the county attorney because that's not my job. I just listened to the meeting and told her what the motion said,
Sure.
because that's what I was asked to do.
It's been a difficult one to talk to her about because she can't talk about it. So that makes it a little contradictory, or I don't know what you want to call it.
Well, then, if they're nervous about it, then, well,
just go with
just waive it,
February
start.
Yeah, if they're really nervous about it, I just texted Matt about what our intention was initially. Since you're the chairman, if you'd like to talk to Kelsey, and if they don't feel comfortable
I
with
figured
it.
it was your motion, so
Oh,
Well,
was it?
I'm pretty sure.
It
Yeah.
probably was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure I would have looked at you to make the motion.
I'm sure. Well, I can call Kelsey too. And if they're nervous about it, then.
And I probably seconded it.
Mhm.
yeah, well, we'll just.
I know it was your motion, because I just listened to it this morning.
Okay.
So, I guess we didn't word it right. I could see how maybe he would assume that we just extended it instead of,
Kick the can down the road.
yeah.
My opinion, we kicked a full can down the road.
Yeah.
He's responsible for that full can too.
Yeah. And maybe I should listen to the January 3rd meeting, because maybe that one,
To
I
define-
felt like it was pretty clear, but
when we talked to him, so maybe I'll listen to that one too
Yeah,
and
see if you
see.
get anything out of it.
all right. It's just getting frustrating because it's
It's not getting better.
it's not getting better, and we have tax-paying, well-meaning constituents all around there that are not getting any satisfaction.
Well, you just have to remind them, this
Yeah.
is government.
Yes.
Nothing happens by.
So are you gonna check that first, or are you gonna?
I'll listen.
continue to-
I'll listen to
January 3rd meeting?
the January 3rd meeting. But I still think you should talk to Kelsey and Matt to let them know of your intentions and let them know that I'm gonna listen to that other meeting.
All right,
All right, are we done with open forum then? Go to 7, consider for approval auditors transfers.
the fair is having a fundraiser, I see advertised. Is that the branding iron or something?
I have another event that
Allison and Kelsey to mark up to ink your stampers.
I take them up there when I go up there?
Starting to
No.
feel a little, are they?
Chelsea.
Oh,
Sorry.
Chelsea. I was like, why is Kelsey in charge of?
Chelsea, Kelsey, whatever.
They're all the same except for to them.
Yeah. Except for the age.
Well, I mean, I'm just talking strictly a name, we all mix them up, but it makes a difference to them.
Mhm.
I'll make the motion to approve the auditor's transfers.
I'll second it. I got a question.
Okay.
So the one to public health, is that upon need or do we automatically transfer?
Need.
Okay. How much of their transfers have they requested?
Just this one.
Smith and a second for Derby to approve the auditor's transfers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Move on to consider for approval payroll claims.
So we'll be converting back to individual sheets then on everybody, or?
Yes.
This one changed from February 28th.
Yes.
This is something different.
Because we're only allowed so much meals reimbursement and they didn't catch that.
Okay,
All these need to be stamped, right?
I see that.
What are they?
Each different name, payroll claim, or what is?
Yeah, each name needs a stamp.
Sorry, I passed it on too soon.
Yeah, these two.
Yep. I gotta remember to go and get my stamper out of the vault.
Oh, you want me to grab it?
Well, I can go in there and get it. Just saying, it's still not here. It's already,
Yeah, it's re-stamped.
is that?
Cause we only get so much for lunch and it's a correction.
Oh, okay, all right, oh, minus 40, all right.
Good catch.
Thank you for getting that. That wasn't my intent to my comment, I was just gonna sign one.
That's okay.
So what do you think we should put on the agenda for the EMS meeting tomorrow?
How's the negotiations going with the lawyers?
Do you know?
Well, I've asked Thomas a couple of times and he said he's been talking, but I've asked him to let me know and he has not. So Jason was gonna call in today. He's gonna get back to me.
Jason and I met with the Lake Mills group a week and a half ago to just really talk through some things and see what their best case scenarios would be and what would be helpful. It was a really good meeting.
Good.
And then he invited me to the Buffalo Center one too, but it was Wednesday, Lent, so I couldn't go. And if it's tomorrow night, I won't be available.
The general consensus there is they wanted there to be more help for volunteers instead of everything about the paramedics.
And I'm meeting with Vincent tomorrow with that next day, tomorrow morning. Make the motion to approve the payroll claims.
I'll second.
Smith, second, Derby to approve payroll claims, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Now the one, like this one for the assessor's office, we've got two of them on this page with an approved stamp, and then there's one on the back page. Does that also have to be stamped?
Before, we were always just doing one stamp.
If it's a report, I just need the one.
Okay, that's good.
Yep.
All right.
If it's a time card, I need per person.
Yeah.
I'm freezing today. Is it cold in here or am I just cold?
You catching something, Carla?
No, I've been cold in here every week.
It's, my feet are kind of cold, which isn't normal, so maybe it is just a little bit chilly.
Last week I was hot in here, but then again, there was a lot of people in here last week, so.
Yeah, there's a lot of hot air.
week after the meeting, Sue McCullough and I checked on all those windmills with Tyler, and they are all correct in the system, and everything's right.
Wow,
They
okay.
were differentiated.
Yes, they are differentiated, and it's all correct. So they're just, the value is just lower because of the rollbacks.
But some of them shouldn't have had rollback.
Well, some of them didn't. But the ones that had the rollbacks reduced the value.
Matt's gonna CC me with his and Kelsey's conversation, those emails.
Okay.
You made a motion already, right?
It's
Yeah,
not-
did.
Did we vote?
Mhm.
Yeah, all right.
We should call Scott though.
We're ready for you. All right.
He just had a gal about trained, and then she moved to Des Moines.
She was from around here too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
What's that for?
Hey, you guys been working on budget this whole time?
Not, we're not there yet. I do have a question back on your road. Do you have policies on your workers after you hire them? Do they have to live so close to their job?
You haven't required that.
You know, somebody questioned, somebody moved to Northwood. It's on our road.
Oh, really?
That would be inconvenient to get there
Yeah,
in Clement.
yeah. I mean, we have plenty of examples of guys that have to work hard and plan ahead.
Doesn't mean he can't stay with his mom in town.
That, you know, in our county, I haven't heard this anywhere else, but the guys stay at the shop if they don't live close enough and they're worried about getting in, because we haven't ever excused that kind of absence.
Do they have places to sleep there? Like couches and stuff, evidently?
Not great,
I was gonna say, I've never seen anything that was, too comfortable there.
no, no, we don't. So it's not a fun thing, and all the guys, I'm sure, resent it. It's just kind of part of the deal. You know, we got plenty of guys who drive 20 minutes to get to their shop. Some more than that even, I think. We do our best to hire close by. I mean, we give favoritism toward those candidates if everything else is the same, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, for many years, Denny Tweeten is retired now, but he's out of our Buffalo shop,
And he lives here.
right? So, you know, in the winter, he had to make it over there or stay in the shop there. Works. I mean, the guys know. They know that.
As long as you got a place where you can at least get some sleep, it isn't quite so bad because you're just sleeping, but,
Yeah.
sometimes if it ain't overly comfortable, it's,
No, not comfortable, and, you know, there's radio chatter sometimes when we have emergencies. It's just, I can't imagine they're getting much sleep. So it's not the best situation. It's much better to have a guy that lives close enough by and get a good night's rest before plowing snow, but it
yeah.
doesn't always happen.
Almost everybody at the Buffalo shop now is pretty close.
Yeah, really pretty convenient.
Yeah.
And in town or a couple couple within a mile, I mean, that one's really
Even
set
the
up.
one that's on an acreage isn't that far away.
No, the two of them.
Actually, it's probably almost closer than town. Not quite, I don't
Yeah,
think.
that one's really set up pretty nice right now. Yeah. Well, what have you guys been working on?
Contract for Scott.
Waste management, or,
Oh, yeah.
recycling.
You got that squared away then?
Working on it.
We talked about you too,
Yeah. What's my part in it? Have you talked to City of
getting
Thompson?
snow removed and
If we were able to get a hold of the EMS shed for several purposes,
Yeah.
hoping the city could plow in front for the EMS and maybe Ethan could swing by when it's convenient to plow behind.
Yeah, if it isn't too much for a pickup plow.
Yeah, it's not gonna be a lot of area.
I would think that would blow
But
pretty clear
if
there.
if we put it in the right place, you wouldn't have to just rely on the pickup plow. If we move it strategically back there, should be able to use the bigger equipment too. Maybe, I don't know.
It's just that we don't have anybody in other equipment. I mean, like a
You know
truck
how to
plow, I
drive
guess.
it? You know how to drive it?
I can.
There.
I move all kinds of stuff with my pickup plow. I think I can clean around the trailers.
I've seen Scott in some machinery that he didn't know what he was doing.
Learning.
He was learning.
I'll try. I'll sure give her a try.
I remember trying to run an old backhoe on some old John Deere track excavator. I wonder what it would like. It must be a lot nicer than the new ones.
They're pretty smooth. And the machine's smoother than the operator.
I guess our thoughts on it are, the alternative to that was if we can't come to a deal with the city, then it's gonna end up at your shop probably.
Yeah.
So
If we went to the uptown shop, I mean, we could probably work around that.
And it's also something that wouldn't need to be cleaned out right away, because most
Yeah.
people aren't gonna be dragging their recycling to
In the
town.
middle of
when-
a snowstorm,
In the middle of a snowstorm, so.
But the uptown shop's probably a better place than the mechanic shop. It's
Just because of traffic.
traffic and how much room. I mean, it's just kind of off the beaten path a little bit, you know, on the highway. Mechanic shop is much more traffic going in and out of it. It's mechanics, it's all the operators, it's all the trucks and graders, it's our storage yard.
So what vehicles are stored in the uptown shop then?
Two of our operators run out of there.
Two.
Yeah, so mainly
Both graders,
one
Okay,
grader and
graders?
one truck come in and out
so
of there.
so there's only 2 vehicles parked there outside.
We have other things in that shop, standby machines, like the jetters up there, different things.
So you're
but-
thinking maybe over on the east side of where they park their vehicles?
I stayed in that little VRBO that's right there, so
Yeah.
I watched them come and go
Sure.
when I was homeless.
I don't,
I mean, it's just gonna be one trailer that has.
yeah, I don't know where the
both
best
sides.
spot would be, if it, put it where they park their trucks on the west side, or if it's on the east side, but more by the
There's
road.
There's no fence on the east side, is there? So it's open to the alley. You can park it next to the alley and then you have to plow in
It's
the
more
front
about how
and
you could
back.
get around it, keeping the snow away.
Yeah.
So-
I'd have to ask the guys what they want, I guess.
But I'd like to, it'd be
If
nice.
that's the last resort, we can make it work, I guess.
Put it on your to-do list, task.
Okay.
Wow, I'm still gonna try and negotiate with the city of Thompson on.
Right, but if the whole liability and all that stuff is an issue, with rent and, I don't know,
Well, I might have rent, I think $1, but
Yeah, and then just have it there so we can have our insurance on it.
and you
So
don't
the
have,
city of Thompson is
you don't
responsible
have
for that.
Wi-Fi at your shop there, do you?
No,
See, that's
Could.
one thing that would be nice to have,
yeah, I mean,
It'd be easy
we
to
probably
have.
have cable to the building,
you know?
So we can put up our camera.
yeah. I'm sure the guys would appreciate that. Cell phones don't die during the day, you know, reception there's horrible.
Yeah.
Unless one of them put some sort of signal repeater in there, something like that, I don't know.
we could do that in our shed. Kind of booster
Yeah.
thing.
I, discuss employment contract for county engineer.
Well, I didn't actually bring an employment contract draft or anything today. I was just gonna kind of talk through some of what I've been working on these last 10 years. In February 4th was my 10-year work anniversary here, and it's been there's been a lot of changes since I started. Most prevalently, the staff. Now that some of the leadership roles have turned over, Doug Reeseter's position now Eric has, and Mark Johnson's position now Ethan has, and that does a lot to what happens in the department. Eric and Ethan have both been really loyal employees with a lot of great ideas, and so I think that we're, as a department, moving in the right direction. Some of the things I wanted to bring up that I've been working on, I think are important that we're all on the same page about. So the first one of which is our secondary road fund balance. In the, I'll say, first half of my tenure here, we were running out of money at certain points of the year in our account when we need it the most. When it comes to July and August, we have the most need for construction expenditures, and that's usually when we were trying to buy equipment, and so we were writing pretty big checks, and our fund balance was sometimes in the negative, and we were trying to work with Julie to make sure we're not overspending, but at the same time, our hands were tied because, the bills are due. So that's one reason that we've started to work up the fund balance. The other is to try and keep our balance high enough in case we need an amendment for emergencies. If we have a really, really hard winter or a really tough spring, I want to be able to have the resources to be able to accommodate that on short notice. And then the last one is just trying to have a balance high enough where we can do some larger projects that usually our secondary road fund can't support. So those three reasons. As you can see in the numbers I gave you, in 2013 when I started, our carryover balance was $450,000, and then it hung around about $500,000. And finally started to grow here in the last 5 years, and then the 2022 carryover balance was about $2.4 million. Part of that is being intentional about conservative budgeting, and part of it's having a couple of good winters, which, a good winter can affect so many different parts of the budget. We use less fuel. In the last 2 years, we haven't bought any salt. In the last couple of years, we haven't paid hardly any overtime. Things like that add up really fast. So I can't say it's all because of our intentions, but part of it's good luck too. And that large end fund balance has allowed us to look into some bigger projects like the microsurfacing and the shop projects. I've showed you every year in recent past that ending fund balance is the target I get is taking a cross section of all the counties and seeing what's typical. I don't know of any other way to figure out what that number should be other than some like best practice county stuff, which I don't know if that exists. It seems like at the bare bones minimum, 20% of your operating, your annual expenditures. And talking to other counties, it's not uncommon to see them with 1 or 2 years worth of expenditures banked up in their accounts. For us, that'd be like $4 or $8 million. That's a ton of money to have sitting around just to have sitting. So, am I in the right ballpark? What do you guys think?
Well, I didn't like the way it worked, in your first part of your tenure. I didn't like having to struggle
Yeah,
I think there has to be a fine balance there, be accountable to the taxpayers.
yeah, I understood that it was a contention among Farm Bureau specifically that a high fund balance was not necessary, and that, you know, we should keep that low and just spend only what we need. And that's all, you know, well and good, but you gotta have enough to operate.
Well, there's also the other side to it, is when the big thing comes in, the current tax year doesn't have to be increased quite so much because you got some fund balance to take care of it. So in the end, you know, it comes out kind of the same in the wash.
Yeah, I would certainly think so. We'd have less impact immediately. I mean, another thing that we've done that most people wouldn't notice is we have stockpiles that are not empty at the end of the summer and fall. You know, we have hauled more than we've needed as kind of a safety net. Um, More inventories means more tracking and reporting, but rock doesn't degrade in a pile, and the value appreciates almost.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it doesn't seem like it gets any cheaper every year, so.
Yeah, so, you know, we still have $8 rock in the pile when it'll be $8.90 at the quarry.
Yeah.
You know, so we're trying to stay ahead of that and make sure we're spending at least as much as we need. You know, there's been years where we spent $100,000 more than the prior year. You know, that bad spring we had 3 springs ago. We were just hauling all summer, never take a break, and that's hard on a budget when we didn't even have stockpiles full that spring. So we're trying to make problems like that unnoticeable to the taxpayer, I guess is what the goal is. If you guys are happy with the way that we've been treating it, I think we'll continue on. I don't think we need $2.4 million just sitting there. That's why we're spending a little more this year, but I'd like to keep it definitely over $1 million and try to build every year that we're not, you know, doing large projects like we are this year.
It makes sense for some of that money to be in inventory and gravel, and I mean, I like seeing that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of money in the bank,
Yeah,
you know, that's just
Gaining
appreciated.
interest in it.
So I guess I personally like that a lot.
right. Another thing that Ethan and I, as kind of partners, have tried to work on our work order system and how we prioritize and what kind of lead times we have for all the work that gets called in to be done. And
Made some progress on that.
we're making some progress. One of the things that I didn't write is that we're doing a better job of taking the calls up front and really trying to investigate what the solution is before we just set it in the system as kind of a need to go check out sometime. You know, some people will call in ditch cleaner or culvert problems, whatever, and that might not be what the solution is. So we're trying to look at them right away and get kind of a general game plan of what would need to be done. And then, you know, for most of those people, we try to give them a reasonable expectation of when we think we can get to it. And if we can't get to it for a while, then we try to give them alternatives. And so we've got now the tile crossing policy, which has been used, hasn't been used very much, but even if it doesn't get used, it really helps us have the conversation with somebody about what the options are, right? You got a tiler in your field and you need to go across the road, and we say, fine, we have to do it, but we can't do it this year. That's not an answer that I don't think is acceptable. Now we can tell them, it's gonna be within 6 months, and that's the schedule we should always be able to promise. And if you don't like that timetable, we can work with your contractor on a cost share to get it done. So that's made it a lot easier to talk to people when they call about these kinds of things, that we have some options for them. We had a pretty busy year last year with construction, but the one prior, we let off on construction to try and catch up, and that's why you see the biggest dip there when work orders went from 86 down to 27, right? Because we were working on maintenance and work orders about all summer. And some of those were really old work orders, and we had to check with people to see if they still existed, and some were problems, and some we just said, okay, we're just gonna close this one out. This one looks like it's fine. And so that's some of them too, you know. So we're up to 40 work orders right now. Some of them have been kind of hired out, like cable rail damage, things like that. We have people lined up to do them, so that'll be a part that'll go pretty quickly this summer. And we only have the one bridge replacement and the one large culvert replacement, so the rest of the work orders we should be able to work almost to zero, I would think. And that we haven't been down this low since we started the work order system. So before that, I can't really say what it was like, but I feel like we got stuck in a position where we were giving people answers they didn't like, and there was nothing we could do about it. We were buried in work, we couldn't catch up, and it's frustrating to hear as a person calling in a complaint. So I think that we're making good progress on this. I think that our customer service is improving, and people are more appreciative of the answers we give them about the problems. So if you have any feedback on that, but we're working on it.
I think I've mentioned before that in talking to people, they seem to be more receptive of what's going on now than compared to what was going on before.
So it's good to hear.
I don't receive near as many complaints now as I did 8 years ago.
I give Ethan a lot of credit. When, no matter the call or complaint, whatever, he always makes sure he puts his eyes on it. And, you know, we work together to come up with the solutions. And, you know, he's a farmer too, and I think that goes a long ways with people, that we all got the same problems, and we're just trying to.
If you can see it from their eyes, then you can understand the problem, the issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things can't always be on a priority list. Sometimes they have to be on somewhat of a chronological order list.
Yeah, I get that too. You know, I mean, at a certain point, some of those projects, if they were only priority, they would just never get done.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta say,
So how
3 years
what's
old,
on
we're
the
getting.
work order, what's the number right now on work orders?
40.
Way better than when I called in a couple years ago, 3 years ago, and when you told me it was 74.
Yeah.
I was 74th on the list.
Well, that's before you knew you were going to be a supervisor. Otherwise
It
you'd
was
look
way
up.
before, yeah.
There you go.
No,
Well, you know, there's something we gotta remember, and it's that we're a contractor that you didn't choose. You know, we have a job to do, and you can't just go find somebody else to do it. So we have to still work with people, and having a couple of happy customers, as Eric says, it goes a long ways. I mean, I think if some of these projects wouldn't really fit in other than we were asked to do it, and we're gonna do it just to try to build a relationship with somebody, then I think it's worthwhile. And if we control our construction workload in order to accommodate more of the maintenance, I think that'll help, so that Ethan doesn't have to give people the answer that they don't want to hear. You know, he doesn't have his back up against the wall knowing I got 75 projects and I got 40 projects worth of time. So I'll continue to try and manage that so that, he's in a position to be able to follow up on all the work orders in a reasonable amount of time. So then pavement condition is another one, which is a real long game. Back when they did all the resurfacing with the wind turbines, and when I started, all the roads were in great condition. We didn't do hardly any construction for the first 3 or 4 years I was here. And even now, the roads are in really good condition. But what was the issue that led to the condition before the wind turbine project? That's kind of what scares me the most, is all the funding that the county was receiving, how'd they get in that position? And I'm guessing it's not something glaring, it's just these little investments that didn't get made along the way. But I'm guessing, and maybe the budget couldn't support that. Since then we've had fuel tax increase, we've had pretty good growth in road use tax, we've had max transfers from our property taxes. So maybe it's just that we have more funding now, and we're able to invest in the pavements. But
We surely don't want to get into that position again.
Well, right before you got here is when we went over the 3.5 limit. So that's really when they started being able to make road improvements, is when they went over that limit.
And the increased gas tax helped. Those two are probably the main parts of it.
yeah. So it was 350 was the limit before then? Yeah.
I'm not a big tax increase guy, but that one, if you want roads to drive on, it only makes sense.
We did both a 350 increase and the over the rural basic at the same time.
Yeah, this is no replacement for extra money. We don't often talk about what we can cut, or what have less revenue would do to us. You mentioned that briefly this morning, like what if we backed off our, plowing efforts? We don't usually talk about stuff like that, but we certainly could, and I certainly hope we don't have to. But when we have to make investments in pavements and all of our equipment and rock more and more all the time, I'm always looking at what that salary percentage of total budget looks like too, and the cleanest changes we could ever make are downsizing our staff, but that would have a profound effect on our service we provide, specifically for snow plowing. So I hope we don't need to get there, but if we want to continue to make investments in pavement and rock and all those things like we have, it's just something we got to keep an eye on. And if our legislature is trying to limit the funds we can generate, we got to know what that does to us.
They have to be careful what they wish for, in a sense, because it could come back to bite them.
Come to the legislative forum on
Yeah.
Thursday,
I got it written down.
Yeah.
I'll try. I had a call in today.
Friday or Thursday?
It's Friday.
Friday.
It's always on Friday.
I had a call into Rowley and didn't wanted to call me back yet.
You'll have better luck with email.
Well, I emailed him to line up a call because they said, "Be happy to talk through some things with me." But
Not that happy though, huh?
Must not be looking forward to
It
it.
hasn't called me back yet, so. All right, so the priority for pavement condition is pavement maintenance. And preservation strategies like we're doing. And we did 9 miles of chip seal a couple of years ago, and we're doing 32 miles of microsurfacing. We're doing 14 miles of hot in place recycling. I'd like to do more chip sealing next year if the budget will support it. So I think these are all the right choices.
How many miles of blacktop do we have?
150,
150.
and they paved like 56 of those miles in that one summer.
Yeah,
It was crazy. That would have been an exciting time. I'm sure they had a lot of fun doing it. I mean, it's fun to see work get done.
well, when you got a big project like that again, also you get more bidders, so.
Yeah, I know they probably got good bids and good price and all that.
What year was that?
I want to say 2010,
Somewhere in there.
give or take a year.
Yeah, some of that was, the concrete, and some of it was pavement.
Yeah, they did some of everything.
Shoulders.
Yeah, a lot of widened shoulders. I mean, they did a lot of good work that needed to be done for sure. Just, once you get an asphalt road paved, it isn't done. It's, maintenance forever. So, I mean, the only thing, pavement preservation is kind of tough, and I think the main reason you don't see more of it, and you do see a lot of it, but the main reason you don't see more is that it's a lot of money to spend something when you don't know for sure if it's gonna, push that end of life out and how far.
Far enough to pay for itself.
Right. I mean, usually like, 30,000 a mile, I need to push the road 2 years to make it worthwhile. And I have pretty good confidence that we'll get 2 years. Hoping for more like 5 or 7. But we won't know until we get to the very end and have to make those decisions. Whereas like resurfacing, we've been doing that for 50 years as an industry, so we know how long that'll last, and so that's kind of a easier decision to make in a way. But pavement preservation is hard too, because you're often treating pavements that appear to be in good condition, and that's true. And so people wonder why are we working on the good roads and not the bad roads? But it's a long game. So I think we're making good decisions, and 10 years from now, I think I'll be able to say we made good decisions. But we'll just have to keep close eyes on everything we do and adjust as necessary. And I think the main thing is we just keep making investments one way or the other. So then another one is in progress, but much to be seen here is the way we've been treating our aggregates, rock and gravel and crushed concrete. A couple of years ago, we started using crushed concrete for spring spot loads, and it seems to be working well. I'd like to get more testing done on some gravel and crushed concrete to see if there's any way we can actually quantify how quickly they break down. There's different tests out there, but I don't think any of them perfectly correlate to real life activity. So I'd like to look more into that to see how the values compare. But in the meantime, we are using, maybe in the last few years, like 5,000 tons a year of crushed concrete. And if you compare it to limestone, which it isn't the same product, but if we compare it, we think we've saved $20,000 in purchase price and $30,000 in trucking. So there's certainly savings on the front end, but the longevity is what would tell us, if we're making the right long-term decisions.
So $50,000 over 5,000 tons?
10,000 tons,
10,000.
couple of years of 5,000 ton usage. we also had a pile of asphalt millings and rubble out at Sunnyside that's been there since before I started, that we crushed here a year and a half ago, a couple years ago. Ended up be about 10,000 ton. We crushed it for $4.50, and we've been using that on shoulders. And in prior years, we'd hauled limestone rock from Pirtle for that purpose. So by the time you get to where we're using it, we're talking about $4.50 versus probably about $12 or $13 with hauling. Again, it's not the same product, but in the asphalt, you'd think you'd have pretty good quality aggregates. So I think it's a good use of that product, and we already had it here. So using that compared to hauling rock, I think we could have saved $75,000. So these are pretty big chunks of money if those materials last. And the other one is I've been working with the Iowa Geological Survey Office at the University of Iowa. They have a geologist who presented at a county engineers conference last December. And there's all kinds of resources out there for mapping, and she's been helping me come up with all the map layers that would help indicate gravel resources. And so we've been working on that map and just trying to hone in on where some properties are that owners we could contact to see if investigating their properties would be worthwhile. I don't have a whole lot of historical context for what's been looked into before. Mike Arms was our gravel guy forever, and he passed away a few years ago. And Mark Johnson was here for a while too, and he'd probably have some knowledge too. But we've made some calls to a couple landowners, and they know that their property hasn't been looked at before, and they are aware that they have some sandy soils and there's potential for gravel there. So I think just getting some permission and going out there and digging some holes and seeing what we can find would be worthwhile.
I think when you brought this up one other time, did you have figures on what it costs to research that with borings?
Well, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can have a company like we had, construction materials test. I can't come up with the name right now, but they come out with a boring machine on tracks, and they drill a core into the ground and take samples every 5 feet, and that tells you something. But it was like $1,000 per boring to get that done, have a report written, so it's kind of expensive. And then you also still don't know the complete story when you get that report back. You don't know if it changes as you go this way a couple hundred feet, and you don't know the material between the 5-foot increments. So it's useful in a way, but I think if we're confident that gravel exists, then the best way is just to dig a hole with an excavator and see the stratification, make some measurements, and to dig a hole and fill it back in. You could do for less than $1,000 for sure. So I think we'll try that in a couple of places. And there's also some geophysics out there. It's like they use probes in the ground with the electromagnetic pulses or whatever that help them map the underground layers. It's really cool, but also costs plenty of money to get done. But really tells you how deep the gravel is and how thick the layers are. And they can do that for like a string of a quarter of a mile or something like that, give you a cross section. So that's something to think about in the future if we have the right application for it. It's hard to spend money on those and come up empty, but if you come up with some gravel, it certainly pays
My
off.
chair.
I was hoping it wasn't your head.
No, my chair.
And then we have a little bit of gravel we found at Sunnyside too, and I'd like to take what we can out of Sunnyside and kind of start to think about selling that property in the future. It's mostly farmland, somewhat marginal. So that's really of no value to the county. We get a little rent off of it, but, and then,
Maybe it could be a solar farm.
How many acres is it?
well, it's an 80 acre
Tract?
minus this and that. So I think it's 77 or something like that. It's got some low ground that's wet, peaty ground, and then it's got some sandier hills that are dry. So on the right here, you get a full crop out of it, but yeah. And we put some tile in it recently too to kind of help some of the spots got grown up with trees when the Thompsons were farming it. So kind of clean some of that up. But again, I think there's a pocket of gravel there, and then there's the yard and all the materials we have there. And if we used all that up and kind of got rid of some of the scrub trees and stuff, you'd have something like 55 acres of farmland, and you'd have a possible building site and a pond that has water and fish in it. So I think that's something that could be, could sell for pretty good money, especially as we're trying to really look at what facilities we need and where.
Campground expansion.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, ponds don't seem to be real detrimental for property value. It's just a different use, but. So I think that's worth looking into, like in the foreseeable future. A lot of that depends on if we can find another spot to stockpile rock, either that direction or closer to Forest City, somewhere that's
How many acres do you need for stockpiling?
a couple, 2 or 3, maybe. Buffalo Shop's like less than 2 acres, I think, and we get 5,000 or 6,000 tons piled there. It's not very, it's trickling into the bushes, so it's not the best, but and ideally it's in a place that's not going to make a big snowdrift for us too, that kind of thing. So there's some different considerations, but it's not a lot of area. We certainly don't need 77 acres. So it's something I'd like to look into over the next few years.
We're all for things getting back on the tax rate.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that kind of thing too.
Maybe a campground out of it again.
Yeah, again, most of it's farmable, So you don't get very much rent, but I assume it would,
It would just be around the pond that you would,
right?
for the campground, and the rest of it could be farm ground.
Yeah. I don't know what kind of marginal farmland's been selling for. 6,000-7,000 maybe. If it's
I would say.
something like that. Half the value of really good land.
CSR is, or.
Yeah, I mean CSR out there, I think
None
is in.
of it is. You
Yeah.
get big equipment in there, small.
Yeah, nobody wants to farm end rows anymore, small.
Yeah, I mean it's broken into 2 pieces and they're kind of funny shapes, so not a lot of street.
You really just don't get productivity on those, end rows where you're turnaround.
Sure. Yeah, this would be a lot turning around. Yeah. And the pond's kind of wide enough where it splits the farm in half. There's really no way to farm all the way one end to the other. But, I mean, it's still 55 acres, and there's still farmers.
Put it in CRP and have the hunting rights go with the pond and get all sorts of money then.
Yeah.
So there's no gravel left in there?
We know of one pocket of gravel that's not real big, we don't think. But we had, Jan's brought their like really old school drilling truck. It's not a sampler, it's just an auger, like it goes in the ground, they put an extension on it, and whatever kind of like spills out of the hole, that's what you have.
Oh,
Or, that's the best guess you have. So that's what they were out there with that last summer, and we found a spot where there's at least some worth going to get. I don't know what kind of quantity.
I know they ran into sugar sand or something for a while there. It wasn't great in one pocket.
In that sunny side, it's really isolated. It seems like, where like at Lewis's farm there, the layers go like this, but there's gravel almost everywhere. But sunny side, it's like really isolated pockets and things you gotta chase a little bit, and some are shallow, and some of it looks like it goes pretty deep, but only in a narrow. It's hard to tell without digging some holes, so we'll dig some holes out there this summer and figure out what's out there. I'd like to have everything we need out of that property and start to conceptualize what a marketable property looks like. In case we gotta take trees or move some dirt or, you know, whatever it is, shape it up. Well, we own that property since, I think, the 60s.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah, it's kind of have to kind of rethink how we stockpile and stage equipment and stuff like that. Other than that, I just was gonna go over quickly what my contract would look like for going forward. I printed off the salaries in the state among other county engineers. And of course, they run the gamut, you know, they range all over the place, but just some notes that I come up with are, I'm 83, let's see, among the 83 counties that don't share engineers, those counties obviously pay their engineers a lot more. I'm 37th in years of service already. We're 66th in population, and I'm 68th in salary. I've tried over the years to come up with a good relationship between population or funding and engineer salary, and it just doesn't exist. I think it's just because counties have to, you know, adjust their salaries to be able to find somebody, and in smaller counties sometimes it's even harder because they got to get a professional engineer to move to their small town county seat. So sometimes you see small towns with higher salaries, but other times you see small counties with lower salaries because their budgets are lower and maybe they have been getting by, and you know they have a good relationship with their engineer, whatever it is. So there's no perfect relationship. So I can't say because our population is, you know, 10,500, or because our road use tax funding is $2.5 million, or that I should be paid whatever. It really doesn't relate that well. So I guess all we really have is what we all agree to in the room, or what we'll be okay with. There have been 10 engineers hired in the last year with the average starting salary $126,000. That includes Dickinson and Osceola, which are similar size and populations, a little bit higher population, but the Osceola position was open for a long time, and I know they had to keep adding to it. They hired theirs for like $130,000 with a moving bonus, and then they hired somebody who lives in Okoboji and commutes.
So do those counties have, someone, do they have an Eric?
I'm sure they do. They probably have 2
Two?
or more. Yeah, some counties have some surveyors. Some counties have techs. Some have assistants. Some call them all assistants. But rarely have I come across a county, maybe Humboldt, that only has 1 technician. You know, we have much smaller construction budget than most counties for the mere fact that we aren't building $500,000 or $1 million bridges. And that takes money, but that also takes a guy like Eric to be out on site all day, every day for months. And we don't have that. So that helps us here keep fewer staff members, I think. You know, when the wind farm came in, the TIF was spent, you know, Trevor Wolf was here as the assistant and Jim was still here, and you know, they were all busy. Doug was here, you know, they were all busy because they had a huge budget to spend, and it takes a lot of people to oversee all that, but we don't have that on a routine basis. So what most counties would have for a bridge inspector, we don't really have.
Well, I didn't think that Dickinson was a good comparison. I mean, their valuation is probably twice what ours is, and their population's like 17,000 some. So to me, it wasn't a real good comparison, but overall, I guess, are you looking at a 1-year contract or?
I'm open to whatever. There's a couple options that I've heard about from other engineers, like Rich Brum in Worth County. He signed a 3-year contract with a, defined increase for the first year, and the second and third years were just an average of the 2 auditors' raises for the 2 counties, because he shares. It's like he did it that way, where the increase is just automatic with basically the comp board and elected officials. Or Jeremy Purvis's in Hancock County, the agreement goes on forever unless, either party wants to negotiate it, and the salary is just kind of separate. So it says in there what his salary is for the year of the contract, and it says, they can agree to increases in the future, but the contract itself, all the rest of the language in there just goes on and on and on. So a couple options that way, or 1-year contract's fine with me too. There's several counties in the state that don't have contracts with their engineers either, so it's there's kind of one of everything out there. It's not a lot in my contract that goes above and beyond what our handbook covers really either, especially now that I've met my 10-year of service, which would, my vacation allowance will now match the handbook again after so many years where it was ahead of pace. A lot of county engineers have a severance in their contract for so many months if they get terminated without cause. I don't have that in mind. So I guess normally I just bring you something and say, how does this look? And I thought maybe we'll just have maybe we could have a better conversation without something on the table, I guess.
Regarding severance, we would have a really good reason.
I don't know if I've ever heard of a county engineer getting let go without cause. Sometimes you hear stories where you're never quite sure, I guess.
Well, and good, employees in general anymore, it's kind of that way. You're not just going to get rid of them because you're going to have a hell of a time replacing them possibly. It's, maybe not in your case.
Well, the one that preceded you, left for somewhat family reasons and felt pressure.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good atmosphere for him. And he went down to a county at the time, the engineer's office was doing drainage. And he went to a county that didn't have drainage districts. But it was also close to his home county, so in Southern Iowa.
Like some of them smaller counties that manage to retain an engineer for a little bit less, and also maybe if they got lucky, it might be a relatively hometown boy that doesn't want to leave the area too. So.
He established himself in his hometown.
For sure. Yeah. Trevor's that way going down south too. He was doing farm work with his dad, and still a county engineer next door. So, certainly that's one of the biggest reasons why I moved here and took this job in the first place. So yeah, you and I both know that I'm not going to up and leave without exhausting all the options, right? This job has never been more comfortable for me. It's nice to have staff that I've hired myself, with my own priorities and
Well, I guess I'm concerned about doing a multi-year contract. This economy is just, and the legislature is just going after us. And I'd rather stick to a 1-year contract, at least for salary. I can see the advantage of having the contract ongoing and just discuss salary, either on a 1 or 3-year basis or whatever at some point. But right now, I don't feel comfortable going 2 years out.
yeah, just who knows what things are gonna do. I can, Jeremy's contract, I thought was nice in a way that it didn't need to be like a contract negotiation every year. It was just, you know, wage discussion similar to how it is with all the rest of the staff.
It's probably more critical in your first years, but when you're 10 years into it, kind of know what to expect. We know what we can expect from you.
So how was Jeremy's again set up again?
Well, the contract was like auto renewing. So every year it would just renew unless the board or the engineer wanted to open it up for negotiation.
But then
And the wage
yeah,
was,
the cost of,
says something like the board can, you know, give raises from year to year as appropriate. And so the actual wage next year wouldn't make it in the contract, it'd just be part of their wage approval or whatever.
Part of their budget, more so.
Probably, yeah, you just discuss it with the budgets and
Much
everything.
like your office people.
Right. So, I don't know, I mean, do you have a preference, or Elizabeth would have a preference, or I don't know.
I guess I'd be okay with having that ongoing contract
that's what I
and
think too.
budget the raises accordingly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Use it.
I like that too, actually.
Well, I think,
Yeah. Are you still here?
no, I was miles from here. Oh, that sounds too bad an idea.
It doesn't really commit you to anything other than just that extra motion every
Yeah,
year.
yeah, I was just gonna say, it's. the
But it
difference
is,
minimal.
I guess for that relationship between us, it's
That's what I
it's
think
still
too, then you
confidence
still have the
between us.
conversations, and I like that.
Yeah.
What are you guys thinking about for the raise then this year?
For Scott, I was thinking he could just stay static and it's just gonna be,
Just because he loves us so much.
Yeah, I'll
Spends a lot of
I'll
time
feed
in
my
there.
family 85% of the food I normally do.
There you go.
everybody goes on diets.
But yeah,
So what did they use? In that other county, they used the auditors,
Rich used an average of the raises among the auditor from Worth County and Mitchell
Oh, for
County
the
for
two
the
counties.
future years, yeah.
I'd rather stay away from that part of it.
yeah.
Well, hopefully we're getting towards the end of, trying to get everything on a level playing field as far as giving extra high raises over the cost of living just because, we're that far behind everybody as
Trying
far
to
as
get up to speed.
creating
yeah.
parity or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh,
Last year, I think our county did better than most counties,
Yeah.
so, you know, that certainly helped.
Probably never catch Franklin. Seems to be so far ahead of us.
Who was that?
Franklin County,
at least
why
on the
is that?
supervisor end of it.
Why is that?
Seems like their benefits were always better too. Like, for a while, the families didn't even have to pay for insurance.
Wow.
Now they only had to throw a little bit of money in there.
We could probably vote for that. May not get reelected, but we can vote for
It might get voted away
Yeah.
just as quick.
it. The next vote might not be so favorable, but
Well, I guess when it comes down to it, I can probably justify the cost of living increase.
I was for sure gonna go with,
8.7.
yeah.
Where did you say you are? Did you say you were 67th?
68 out of the 83 in salary.
About 20%.
I was gonna say the cost of living, honestly, so. I just wanted to make sure we got that. 68, not 67.
Where,
Yeah,
where are we, size wise, right, as far as the area of Winnebago County compared to the rest of them.
I think we're like 6th or 7th to last.
Yeah, so, no, I know we're towards the end, but I couldn't remember how close we were.
Yeah, most of those stats don't really help my case.
No. Well, the 150 miles of blacktop does, or those kinds
A
of.
little bit, like you go down to southern Iowa and a county our size or even a tier taller might only have 15, 20 miles of pavement in their whole county, other than, state highway.
You get Adams County or something, and it's like,
That's just gravel roads is like all they have.
You get down there delivering herbicides sometimes, and it can be interesting. It's not quite as bad as Kentucky or something.
Yeah, I mean, to drive 15, 20 miles without hitting the blacktop, I mean, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Okay, I can drop a update to the contract with 8.7 and then that kind of auto renewing clause and see what you think of it.
something to look at.
The other question with that is there anything you can see that, we could work on, or goals or anything that would give my salary any kind of future other than, good, strong increases that go with inflation? Is there?
I think you do a good job of communicating stuff, telling us where you're at and what's happening. Guess I can't really think of anything specific.
Outside of eliminating one route, and you take over the route, and
Yeah.
for a small increase.
And that cleaning around that recycling bin.
Okay, yeah, I'll get right on that. Otherwise, mostly for our department and myself, I've tried to stick to the comp board, recommendations.
I'd say in the last 5 years, it's been a remarkable change.
Appreciate that.
Since I had a lot of involvement, in the first few years among you and your staff, it's been remarkable improvement.
Yeah, it's, definitely things have gotten better since I was first here till now, so. Yeah, what exactly is your salary right now?
Right now, it's 111, 913.
Yeah, I wanted to say 12.
That it then?
Yeah, it's hard to kind of get back to these all the time, so if you guys ever have something you really want to dig into, just let me know and give you some time to prepare and we can talk about it. Otherwise, budget discussions are kind of that time for bigger conversations, but then you got a lot of other things to think about too. So.
Speaking of which,
It wouldn't be so bad, except that we just kind of kick things down the road for many months. And keep coming back on.
Yeah, I got things like that too.
We're in trouble.
Yeah, it's nice to just button something up and put it in the
Log
file
in
and that's
off
done.
the desk.
Yeah.
That's
oh,
my
well,
favorite
I
thing.
mean,
File it.
Mhm.
Done.
our job was to go through them and look and see if everything's in order or if we're gonna have to make any changes.
Can we take a 5-minute, guys?
Sure.
We can actually, if you don't have anything for me,
Now that we have the revenue, we can probably look at it
Come
better.
downstairs.
we can adjourn
Okay.
until 1, because
Yeah.
I'm not done,
Right.
so.
I have a meeting in Mason City at 1 where they hadn't met quorum yet. Contacted me yesterday personally whether I was gonna make it or not.
Your people
Yes.
We weren't expecting you down there anyway.
Valid because of that.
We're just being nice and inviting you.
Yeah, yeah. I understand.
I don't think it's gonna be anything major down there.
No,
I'm just talking about discussing budgets as far as,
I'm not done with budgets anyway. I'm not,
No
I'm
action.
not ready yet.
Do you have everything that you need? I mean, do you feel like there's There's other changes that are,
I gotta get it all completely put back together before I can,
there shouldn't be any other legislation that affects,
no, it's
It's
This
just,
is happening all the time.
but that'll affect this year's.
hopefully not this year's,
I
but
can guarantee you, the party in power can do anything they want last minute, and they do. That's when you gotta be worried, when they do an omnibus bill, and they slip things in there, that's when you gotta worry. That's when the, back to blue thing got shoved in there. Nobody really had a chance to look at it, and didn't know what they were voting on.
And it don't seem like it matters, so how much you discuss it with the legislators, it's just like you just, I feel like I was one of the adults in the meetings. Wah, 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 wah.
Well, it give me the impression like, the voters say this, so whatever I say doesn't mean anything. It's like, who is this collection of voters you're talking about?
Yeah,
well, and that's just it.
It's
Like,
a caucus down there that they're listening to.
the 5% of the wine the loudest is all it is. I mean, because it isn't, when I talk to one, especially the Farm Bureau, when I talk to them, tell them, I said, where some of this is headed, I says, you gotta be careful what you're gonna wish for. I says, 'cause
are we adjourned? 'Cause